Today I just wanted to take a quick look at the 2002 film Death to Smoochy. It is a black comedy which stars Edward Norton as Sheldon, who also plays the title character Smoochy, so obviously I have trouble remembering Sheldon's name, so I'll probably mostly be referring to him as Smoochy and just read into that however you want, but Robin Williams plays Rainbow Randolph, who is somewhat of a disgraced former children's show host. The film opens up with him taking a bribe in order to place a family's child in a specific role on the TV show, which happens to be an FBI bust, and I don't even know if this is actually a thing, it just sounds really weird, but obviously this makes the papers, he loses his job, and the network rushes to replace him, so they pretty much go to a rehab center, the executives do, where they see Sheldon performing in a homemade costume as Smoochy the Rhino, which is kind of odd because he's singing songs to people in rehab, and you know, generally that's kind of, you would say, oh yeah, that's a nice thing, but these people are going through withdrawals, they're moody, some of them are probably medicated. Not to be rude, but it's probably a waste of time. But to some degree it shows how big Sheldon's heart is. He is very, I guess you could say, hippie-ish. He's very much into the clean eating, wants to encourage chain stores to carry tofu dogs in addition to just regular beef franks. So, which in 2002, I guess you could say was fairly ahead of its time. It's not really something that most people were into, whereas now quite a few people are health nuts. There are also restaurants who do actually carry alternatives, but that's an entirely different story. So Sheldon is basically brought in, that he's given the whole royal treatment. There's even a montage where I think was extremely hilarious, where he's being fitted for a custom Smoochy costume, and the mannerisms in that scene really remind me of Pee Wee Herman. You have the stiffness of body, the darting eyes, and especially just the big goofy cat who got the canary grin when he gets his hips measured. It just really seems to me like it's referencing Pee Wee Herman, which I don't know if that was by design or if it was accidental. Of course, most of you who do remember, Pee Wee Herman was also a children's show host as well, so I just thought that was very interesting. But it's kind of an odd film in the sense that, in a way, it kind of delves into the dark world of children's shows. You have mob ties, you have corrupt charities, and obviously you have crooked TV show hosts. So it's definitely very interesting. The woman who is responsible for discovering Sheldon is also just she's very jaded, she's just very withdrawn, sticks to herself. Not necessarily withdrawn, but very rigid, very guarded. And apparently she, as we later discover, the woman's name is Nora, but as we later discover, she has somewhat of a kids show groupie fetish thing going on. So obviously we discover that she was once paired with Rainbow Randolph. She eventually does pick up with Smoochy the Rhino, who is played by Edward Norton. But it's very interesting, just the dark characters that the Smoochy character is surrounded by, because he seems very innocent, very wide-eyed, very childlike, but as you progress through the film and his eyes open, he definitely raises his voice a lot more. He uses profanity, he becomes violent at points, just getting into a fist fight, things like that. But I don't know, he makes the perfect polar opposite to Robin Williams' character as Rainbow Randolph, because, as I've said, he has definitely lost his way. He's definitely taking bribes. He has an alcohol problem. And later on in the film, obviously his pride's been hurt as well because he lost his show. But later on in the film, it's kind of odd because he has friends who worked with him on the show who are still assisting him. They invite him into his home, or later once he's pissed off everyone and he's in the streets, he still has a friend who brings him meals, which I think is a really funny scene in itself because he requested chicken soup with stars, and you know, maybe it's a comfort food type thing, or maybe it's just a whole reference to just being a kid, but he requested chicken soup with stars, and you know, that's a very simple, very humble type food if you can think about it, considering he probably could have just asked for a ham and cheese sandwich or something, which I think would have been a lot more satisfying food-wise. Definitely fills you up a lot more. So I think the character development, regardless of how subtle certain things are, is very clever and very well thought out with the characters. But I think it was a very funny scene because his friend is trying to cheer him up and he's asking him to give him this smile, and he just kind of gives him this weird stiff-mouthed grin, and even though it's sarcastic, it's extremely hilarious. Unfortunately, the Rainbow Randolph character doesn't really seem to have very much character development, which it really did have potential, but it just felt to a degree like a very limited or limiting role for Robin Williams. He definitely did have some funny moments, but it just mostly comes off as a person who's just kind of lost everything. They're on the edge of sanity, on the verge of having a nervous breakdown, basically just losing everything physically and mentally, and he still manages to carry the character in a very funny way, but in a lot of aspects it's very hard not to feel sad or sorry for Rainbow Randolph. But there are definitely some very devious setup scenes as well when Robin Williams' character tries to set up Sheldon and make him fall from public grace. There was the incident with the cookie, which was pulled out of a piñata, which very clearly resembles a phallus. There was also the Nazi rally, which he had been duped into going to, but I don't know. At the time when the film was going on, it just really didn't catch my interest, and I did watch it recently, but it just feels like something was missing. It definitely has a lot of great character development, like I said, but I don't know, I just wish there was more done with the Rainbow Randolph character. Nora as well as Sheldon are very well developed, but it just feels like the Rainbow Randolph character wasn't as well rounded out, but still a good movie, very enjoyable. You have a great supporting cast and, you know, some very odd characters that just hang out in the background. But that is pretty much all I have for you guys today, and I will talk to you later.